that means it's time to go ahead and slide into Coach's Corner.
Woo.
Coach Tripp in here with some Coach's Corner, baby.
All right, gentlemen. And again, you may have discussed this on when I wasn't on. It is college related specific. That's why I want to bring it up, but it's very iconic. On November 1st, at the age of 83 years old, Coach Bobby Knight passed away. And so I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Bobby Knight, his background. And look, we'll address some of the controversies. You know, he's certainly a world-class X's and O's guy, but had some issues on and off the court as well. But I kind of wanted to go through a little bit of his resume since we lost one of the great ones and kind of talk about that. So he was 83 years old. In 1965, he became the youngest D1 coach, at least at that time. That may have changed since, when he coached at Army at the age of 24. So that was his first gig. Obviously, he made his career at all those years at Indiana, although he did also have a stint at Texas Tech, if you remember that, late towards his career.
I do remember that. I was a Tech fan because of Bob Knight, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah. And then he put them back on the map basketball-wise. They were kind of an afterthought. So at Indiana, he accumulated 661 wins. His overall record total, everywhere he coached, 902 and 371. He made the NCAA tournament 24 appearances in 29 years of coaching. He won 20 or more games 29 times. In 1984, he coached the U.S. Olympic team to a gold medal, which was not also without some controversy, as he kind of cut some NBA players to make room for his players. He has 3 national titles, one in 1976, 81, and 87. The 76 one is significant because it was an undefeated season. They went 32-0, and he beat Michigan 86-68. In 81, he went 26-9 on his way to the title and beat UNC 63-50. And then in 1987, he went 30-4 and beat his good friend Jim Boeheim 74-73.
And if I'm not mistaken,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I'm not mistaken, Coach, that Indiana team that won it all is when they were undefeated. That's the last team that's made it through the entire season without a loss on their way to the title.
I think you're correct. I think you're correct. It's such an unbelievable stat. At Army, he was 102 wins and 50 losses. At Indiana, 661 and 242. And then at Texas Tech, this may surprise you, maybe not, since you're obviously a fan because of them, 138 and 82. So, a lot of wins. And I guess I had forgotten how long he was at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So
I forgot he was that many losses. I knew they had a few, but.
Yeah. So listen, his basketball resume speaks for itself. In January 1st, 2007, while he was at Tech, he passed Dean Smith for, at the time, which was the most wins all time. He's currently sitting on that list at number 6 with 902 total wins. So obviously Krzyzewski and some of those others have surpassed him. But at the time, he was the winningest coach. So look, X's and O's, the guy was phenomenal. He could recruit. He could develop players, obviously win championships. So if that was where the story ends, it would be a great story, but not all that interesting. So where it gets interesting are all the things that maybe take away from the legend of Bobby Knight on the positive side. He had the infamous chair throwing incident in a game in 1985 against Purdue, where he threw a chair onto the court. You can actually, I don't know if you can, but I read something today where they actually have that chair on campus. It's like locked up in a maintenance room, but they still have that chair. In 1997, there was an incident with a player named Neil Reed. And Neil Reed came out and kind of accused Bobby Knight of choking him during practice. But not everybody kind of believed it. It wasn't until in 2000 where video footage of that surfaced. So I guess they taped practice. Somehow that came out. So that got him put on a zero tolerance contract, and he would eventually be fired on September 10th of the year 2000. And the quote was, for an unacceptable pattern of behavior. He had an incident later where he grabbed a 19-year-old freshman by the arm and supposedly cussed him out because the 19-year-old called him Knight rather than Coach Knight. Anyway, a fantastic storybook career record-wise, X's and O's, the 3 national championships, a U.S. Olympic gold medal, but not without some controversies, some issues. But look, love him or hate him. As far as, if you rooted for him or against him, one of the all-time greats in basketball, college basketball history. And look, as far as some of these controversies, obviously the choking incident is quite disturbing, but some of the others are personality flaws, but everybody has them. You can't excuse choking someone, but the throwing of the chair, things like that, that was just him apparently. And I think they came up with this unacceptable zero tolerance thing, but I think as Miles Brand at the time was president, they bear some of that responsibility, because there's no way that was the first time something like that happened. And when you allow something to go on, obviously it's going to probably escalate over time if there's no consequences. So certainly he was in the wrong for some of these controversies that he started or was involved in. But I think Miles Brand, the university, probably owns some accountability as well for not addressing it until there was this massive issue, until it was too late where they could not ignore it. And I think maybe the lesson is, well, he's won these championships, he's winning, he's bringing in talent. We'll let these things go to the side. And I think that's the wrong message. But more to the point is, I wanted to celebrate the brilliant career of Coach Knight, who we lost on November 1st, 83 years old.
Coach, I'm going to ask both of you, do you guys happen to know what my favorite quote from Coach Bobby Knight was?
I have no clue.
I can guess, and I don't know if it's the one, and I may not get this right,
but
I would guess it's maybe the one of, when they bury me face down so the rest of the world can kiss my ass.
Yes, that is it. Yeah, when I die, may they bury me upside down or something like that, so that everyone who died, I can't remember, but you've got pretty much the
gist of it.
You got the gist of it for sure. He was a very, I thought he was a very, very good coach. Obviously, like you said, he was not without his warts, and he had, some things that he probably needed to get sorted out as a coach, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And too often, unfortunately, it looked like there were, was wrong ways of handling things. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I don't know if once he retired, and he was doing some analysis as well. I think he worked with ESPN for a couple of years after he retired from Texas Tech. He was, he was not even close to the same kind of fiery spirit that he was as a coach. And you've kind of seen that with Mike Krzyzewski now that he's been retired a few years, Roy Williams and everything like that. I don't know how much of it is just because there's a lot of pressure being put on you if you're a head coach, especially you talk about how much basketball means in the state of Indiana and at the collegiate level in that state. It's it got to be one of the toughest jobs in any field or profession is being a head coach, and especially when you have given them success and they're continuing to expect it and want more and more success.
Right. And I would go a step further and say, I would be willing to bet that it's even more difficult now with the kind of unlimited access between, social media and the access the regular media has, that there's probably never a moment where, as a big time program that you can just kind of take a deep breath, relax. There's always somebody questioning a decision you made or a player wanting to leave, all kind of stuff. So hopefully, though, these guys can kind of keep their cool and get that figured out. So
Absolutely. The legend of Bobby Knight.
A good old Bobby Knight. Boy, oh boy. Man, good coach's corner.